everyone, my name is Tegan McCoy. I will be your moderator tonight. A little bit about myself is that I've been in leadership for 4 years, 3 of which I've been an officer. I'm a club founder here at Windsor High School, and I'm very excited to get started tonight. To begin, we'll be introducing each of our panelists, and we'll start down here with Lily Grace.
Hi, I'm Lily Grace Broninger. I'm Windsor High School's ASB Campus Connections Athletics Officer. I've been very involved in Windsor High School these past 4 years, 4 years as a leadership student, and then I'm also the co-president of our environmental club, Committee for Change, and then I'm also involved in our community through local events and local projects or organizations like Redwood Empire Food Bank.
Hi, I'm Natalie Valdez. I'm the ASB president here at Windsor High School, as well as Windsor Unified School District student trustee. I've also been in the leadership program for 4 years. For 3, I've been an officer, and I love Windsor for the diverse clubs and different sports we have here at the school.
Hi, I'm Elise Pugmire. I'm one of your ASB Public Relations Officers, which means that I sit as a youth commissioner on the Parks and Recreation Board here at Windsor. I am co-president of debate, and it's one of my pride and joys along with leadership, and I just love being involved around school.
Yeah, my name is Jackson Diaz. I'm your other public relations officer, which means I also sit on the on the Parks and Rec board as a youth commissioner. And I've been in leadership for 3 years at Windsor High School, and I've been an officer for all 3 years, and I love it.
All right, thank you, panelists. I hope you all enjoyed our introductions. So to start off today, we will be focusing on the overall nuts and bolts of student government here at Windsor High School. This conversation will be answered by each of our panelists today. So to start, the first question reads, several of you hold positions in the town or district government. How does Windsor High School's leadership integrate with the actual town of Windsor?
It integrates with the town of Windsor because we have representatives on like the different kinds of like boards around town. For example, like I mentioned, me and Jackson are the youth commissioners for the Parks and Recreation, and then Natalie is one of the student trustees on the school board. And so that way us on ASB, we can be that liaison between the town and the school, and we can plan things in conjunction with them and keep the town updated about what we're doing here on campus, and keep people here on campus through things like Senate Forum updated on what the town is doing.
Yeah, and our leadership program is also involved a lot through volunteering. So we have a big leadership program, and a lot of our students volunteer at town events. For example, there's an upcoming Native Arts Festival, and so we're going to have a lot of our students volunteering there, and just a lot of town events we have students going to help out at, and so that's one way that we stay really connected.
Great, thank you, panelists. So to bounce off of that question, you talked a little bit about the leadership program and the events held within the Windsor Unified School District. But in contrast of that, as leaders, how do you make sure that you're representing the interests of students whose voices maybe aren't as heard, if they're not in clubs or sports teams? How are you making sure that those students' opinions are being integrated into the decisions we're making here at Windsor High School?
Yeah, well, I'll start with this. I think this year I've had a very different perspective as a leadership officer, but also as a student trustee. It's given me that broader outlook on a student body, not only at Windsor High School, but at all of our different sites in Windsor, including Big Picture Learning and Windsor Oaks. So it's taught me, especially this year being ASB president, to look into those smaller communities or different communities that sometimes are overlooked, look into all of our different clubs that we have, the different athletics, and highlighting all of the different schools in Sonoma County, in specifically Windsor. So,
thank you.
Yeah, and another way is through our Senate forums. I believe someone mentioned them before, but you don't have to be in a club or in a sport or anything to attend Senate Forum. It's just people from all of our classes, and so we keep people updated, and including Big Picture Learning, they also attend, so we get our information circulating, and we've public comment at those as well, and so we get feedback from there.
And then the other thing is that our leadership program has such a diverse group of students. So even if students who aren't maybe they're not able to be in clubs or be at Senate Forum or things like that, there's still like a representative from like I think each of the cores in our program, and so that makes it easy to collaborate with people from different perspectives within our classes.
Yeah, and I would say through the events that leadership puts on, like 8th grade orientation or maybe our club carnivals, we kind of get the diversity of our school really pushed out further to the students that may not be aware to it.
Adding on to Lily Grace's comment about our Senate Forum that we have, it's also a great way for students that aren't in leadership to learn more about being civically engaged in their community. And I think at other schools that's not always the case, and that kind of gets outlooked. So I think it's a great way we get to hear the feedback, and that's one of the best ways we hear feedback, and we get to have one-on-one conversations with other students, as well as obviously calling it a Senate Forum. They're all senators at Windsor High School, so.
Yeah, great. Okay. So again, to kind of flip that over, we talked about students who maybe aren't as heard. So what is it like to be in leadership? What are your experiences and the realities of being an ASB officer and actually putting in that work? Oftentimes, things like rallies and sports games are kind of what people see, and that's the forefront of what leadership appears to be. But of course, there's so much that goes on behind the scenes. So what is that experience like for each of you?
Yeah, so I'm the ASB Campus Connections Athletics Officer, and so a lot of what I do works with athletics. I work a lot with Jamie Williams, our athletic director, and I pretty much communicate with her to especially run our social media pages, specifically Windsor Athletics. And so yeah, a lot of the stuff I do is behind the scenes, and people don't really know how involved I am with the Instagram, but I communicate with her and I create flyers and I try to push out our sports as much as possible to try and really get that school spirit and participation in those events. So yeah, I just work a lot with different people, and not just Miss Williams, but also within our program, make sure we communicate and do that stuff with the social media. Advertising is a big part of what I do.
I have a bit of a different experience because last year as a sophomore, I was the ASB Junior Outreach Ambassador, and so I got to see how much work really is happening behind the scenes, because that position is what plans like things like 8th grade orientation and the field trips for the middle school and things like that. And so it was a lot of work, but it felt very rewarding, and it made me really appreciate the people who do put on the rallies and the people who do put on these bigger events, because prior to being in that position, I didn't realize how much work it was, and but it made me really appreciate it and understand and have an understanding for what happens in leadership. So yeah.
Yeah, I would say that throughout my years of leadership experience, I think the only way to truly understand how important leadership is to join it. I was looking forward to join leadership throughout middle school and even elementary school, and once I got here, it was such a warm welcome, and I met so many new people, and it just opened my eyes to kind of how connected the school can be with its community around it and even surrounding schools. I think that I've been able to take up so many different opportunities that have broadened my perspective of just how close of a tight-knit family one large high school can be.
Yeah, and to add on to that, so we've highlighted this a lot within our answers, but something that's so unique about the Windsor High School Leadership Program is that, yes, we do the awesome dances and the awesome rallies and the awesome, really fun things that everyone gets to see. But on top of that, we're planning those really important events like 8th grade orientation that doesn't just expect Cali students and students from Windsor Middle School, but also out-of-district students. We're reaching students from across Sonoma County, and that's something so unique about it. And this program, getting to learn to work behind the scenes and really have this job that teaches you the workings of a real government is such a benefit into your transition out of high school. Yeah.
Great. Thank you. I appreciate all of the work that goes into leadership, and I appreciate all of your perspectives. So moving on, our next question is more regarding the teamwork assets to being in leadership. So when you have a big idea or something that you'd like to plan, it's hard to just be the only voice in the room with so many like-minded leaders beside you. What does the formal proposal and idea coming to life look like within planning an event within leadership? Specifically the research, the data collection, and the revisions it takes to execute your plan that you put into motion.
I can speak for last year. It was the first year that my position put on the specifically 6th grade field trips, because we've always done middle school field trips to the town green along with Windsor Middle School and Cali, but last year we expanded those, and the process was a lot of work and data collection, but it was mainly, I would say, being a good communicator, because I had to get in contact with all of the teachers and everything like that, and I was already in contact with them because of the other events I was planning, but it was just a lot of making sure that I would have everything streamlined before the event and to make sure it would be a smooth transition, because it was such a new thing we were doing. And so I was able to talk with my peers and collaborate with them, and talk to Natalie because she helped me a lot last year in my position, because she had it before me. And so I think that for making a big plan, it was originally an idea that me and Miss Lozano, the teacher at Windsor Middle School, came up with. But then from there, it just kind of blossomed, and I was able to get different people's perspectives and then set a game plan. And then with everybody's support, it was pretty easy to just follow through.
Yeah. Adding on to that, something that people often overlook with the leadership program, obviously all of our officers and any leadership student gets a lot of feedback about the work that we're doing. And something people don't realize is that there are processes put in place for things to be approved. And for example, I was the ASB JAGGY Spirit Advisor my junior year, and there was a theme that was very wanted by the student body, and something I really communicated with fellow students is that there's a process. You have to communicate with our admin, and that then takes time. You're learning those processes of how a government works, and so that's another really important thing to realize, that all of our officers work really hard to implement new ideas, to be innovative and to be creative, but it does take time.
Yeah. Great. All right, thank you. Now moving over to where we were before regarding the outside students and individuals outside of leadership. This is going to kind of steer back to that topic. So what is the specific system for a student outside of the 100-person program that is leadership to get their idea on an officer's agenda? So how are we, as a leadership team, making the general student body's ideas feel important and heard? So rather than their voice, as we discussed with that regard, more so of their ideas, maybe a fundraiser they want to start, those type of things.
Something I will say about this to any students watching, of course, too, is we're always looking to incorporate all of the different clubs and athletics. Obviously, we have officers that are specifically dedicated to that, but we always accept emails that students can email our windsorhsleadership@gmail.com if they have an idea, or recently we had a club president attend one of our ASB meetings so that we could promote and find a way for the student body to learn about an event that her club was putting on. So there's so many different ways that students can reach us, and then we can help them, because of course we're here to help the students, so we can help them put forth anything they need help with.
Yeah, and then another avenue is Senate Forum. And if you guys probably all know our faces, you see us all the time on things like the Video Bulletin or at Senate Forum or just around campus. And so feel free to just come up to anybody on the ASB team and start that conversation. And then if if you're feeling nervous about maybe sending that email or speaking up at Senate Forum, that's always a good first place to start, is to talk to an officer and maybe have somebody in your corner when you do want to bring your idea to the table.
Yeah, because our program has specific, I mentioned this before, but has specific positions that are made forth to be liaisons with different communities here on campus and in the Windsor community. So,
yeah. And then I'll just say, kind of answer my own question, but we do have a section for public comment at Senate Forum, so that's also a good opportunity for the general student body to get their questions, comments, and concerns in with us. The panel sitting at Senate Forum is our ASB officers who can answer those questions. Okay. So moving on, we will be having a Q&A regarding the bell schedule, which will be implemented for the 2026-2027 school year, which has been a big topic of discussion. So we're excited to get started. And this discussion will be led by our public relations officers we have over here, Elise and Jackson. And then, of course, the remainder of us ASB officers will butt in if needed, okay? Let's get started. So our first question, pretty general question. How long has there been a conversation for changing the bell schedule of Windsor High School?
So over year, conversations on this topic have definitely fluctuated, but the past 6 years has been spent in active conversation, and then the 5 years prior to that, and it was inactive conversation. So this has been in the works for over 11 years, so. Yeah.
Great. Thank you. Okay, so how will this new implemented bell schedule help families?
So this new bell schedule will provide students with having a concrete schedule. So it'll allow the parents to make one plan at the beginning of the year for both pickup and drop-off, and it'll remain consistent throughout the entire year. This way, the confusion will be completely eliminated for not being prepared to be picked up or dropped off by your parent, and it's going to eliminate the stress for the parents as well as the students for not being as responsible for managing your transportation.
Right. And of course, here at Windsor High School, our students are one of the biggest priorities. So how will this new bell schedule benefit students, specifically students seeking employment or dual enrollment, and how will this benefit with their fluctuating schedules?
Yeah, so this new consistent schedule allows for students to enroll in more afternoon in-person JC classes, which furthers their education. It also provides, since it is a consistent schedule, it allows them to sign up for more shifts or to have a more concrete schedule at work. And this will likely increase the amount of students who utilize our dual enrollment and increase the amount of students who look for a job. So,
right. Here at Windsor High School, we do have a late start on Wednesdays. So there's been a big question on how will we mitigate the loss of B-Day class time, as B-Days will be on Wednesdays and A-Days won't.
So across the entire school year, we're actually going to only lose about 318 minutes of B-Day school days. So in the big picture, it's really a minuscule amount to not be too worried about.
For the record, that's about like 3 to 4 minutes per week. So in the end, it's not that much time.
All right. And then relating to lost class time, how will weeks connected to a 3 or 4 day weekend be handled? Specifically holidays, if we don't have school Monday, Friday, how will we work that out?
Yeah, so the days off school for like professional development days or specifically like weather days, they've all been moved to the Mondays so that we don't lose any of our block days. So that way we don't really lose too much class time.
All right. Next question, is this new bell schedule going to be permanent or is it just a trial run? Are we going to have room for error and for tests, or is this just going to be our new normal?
So this new bell schedule, it's only going to be a trial run for the 2026-2027 school year, and it will have to be voted on again after the year is over.
Right. Some teachers have mentioned that because the classes on Monday are shorter, they're limited on time and are concerned their lessons will suffer. what is the plan for teachers who no longer have enough time to teach their previous curriculum?
So just keep in mind that the new bell schedule was approved by the majority of teachers. It could only be passed if the majority voted yes. And so curriculum will have to be adapted to shorter time periods, but other schools in Sonoma County are thriving with similar schedules.
All right. And then what schools have set the precedent for this new schedule? What schools alongside Windsor have we kind of looked for to change what has been our norm for a long time?
Yeah, so just about all other high schools in Sonoma County have the set days, which is the approach that we are taking with this new schedule to streamline things for families, students, and all staff at Windsor High School.
And then similar to Windsor Middle School and Cali, which have homeroom classes, will there be a homeroom class for Windsor High School with the new coming bell schedule?
No, not at this time. It may take some time to adjust to these new changes that the schedule brings. So we don't know if there's a homeroom in our future, but that certainly will be something we reevaluate.
And then here at Windsor High School, our schedule is notorious for having some breaks in between classes. So what will happen to the students who inevitably end up with gaps in their schedule, meaning if a student has a 1A, a 2A, and then maybe not a 3A, but then they have to come back for their 4A? How will that work for those 40-minute classes on Mondays?
So we're going to utilize the same structures we have now, as in if you were to have a free period in between those classes, you are free to leave, and then just make sure you get back to class on time.
All right, and then will those people be allowed to leave campus who have those gaps?
Yes.
All right, great. All right, does anyone have any more comments that they'd like to make on any of the discussions we've had today?
I guess one thing we talked about dual enrollment and employment being a new beneficial aspect with this new schedule, but there's also other opportunities and programs. A lot of volunteering is going to be a lot more accessible for students now. I know that there were things that I was interested in that I wasn't able to do because I didn't have a consistent schedule. So yeah, it's not just dual enrollment and employment, but also volunteering and other community activities that people will now have more access to.
All right.